we have wind that is producing, the radar estimated wind. There's a lot of rotation here, but you're talking about, velocity on one side of 62 miles an hour. That's impressive. But on the other side, it may not be quite as impressive. That number is not quite as high. When it flashes up here, it's 25 miles an hour. Earlier, those numbers were a lot closer together, 60 on one side, 60 plus on the other. That's what indicates there is a tight rotation, and that's what was essentially lofting that debris in the atmosphere. When those numbers are, one side is smaller than the other, yeah, there could be some rotation, but in this sense, not quite as much. Does that mean it won't produce another tornado? The way that this storm is set up to cycle, where yes, it may lower, then it may rise, and that's why Lance is following it. In fact, you can start to see that a little bit. Now Lance is zoomed in right now. That's exactly what we're talking about right there. And whether or not that is, just some lowering of, scud, and you can see the lowering edge of that wall cloud, that's not out of the question either. But that's where we're looking at as we see that potential for any rotating storm. And you can see that in the distance here with all the lightning. And that's the best way that we're able to see that. I know Lance is kind of zoomed in here. This is where the storm is specifically. And on the left-hand side of your screen, and those flashes of lightning, is that reaching? And that could be the tornado right there. And I know it's going to be difficult to see because it's really dark, but that's the best view that we have of it. And if that lowers once again, that's what could produce the tornado here from Sandoval. So if you're in Salem, you're in Iuka. I know you're in Kinmundy right now. If you're in Kinmundy, this is going to be something that could cross Interstate 57. So from a standpoint of where that is specifically, that's the lowering of the wall cloud that we look at. Now, until that reaches and makes contact with the surface, it is not a confirmed tornado or it is lofting debris. That's what we've seen earlier. That's why you have this red polygon, but we're starting to see the signature as we continue to see the analyzation of the radar that tells us, hey, there's a possibility where some of these numbers are picking up just a little bit more, right? So that circulation is getting tighter again. And that's what we watch out for specifically here as we zoom in, because you can see that, now, to be honest with you, now I think we see a little bit more circulation than we just did. And that really is indicated on the radar scan, but also by what Lance has showed us here, because you're able to see that right over Sandoval, right Highway 50. I mean, this thing's been tracking right along Highway 50, where you're able to see the specifics of where that may be lowering. And this is the best view we're going to get, especially at night, right? Especially in terms of you're along the interstate. Sometimes we're able to get that view at times, but right along Highway 50. So from a standpoint of where we want you to be taking your safe place, Selmaville, 57. If you're in Salem, this is right along Salem. And I think, over the course of the next few minutes here, they're just extending some tornado watches here at this point. So that's what I'm always taking a quick look at here. But I want to get out ahead of this thing, because if you're in Salem, I'm going to say I want you at about 8:43. So that gives you about 6 minutes here just to be on the safe side here in Salem, because this system has a history of producing a tornado, as we continue to maybe zoom out just a little bit more. And really from an analyzation standpoint of the radar, we still look at that view from where Lance is. And, you've got, now I know we're on a different side of the radar. We're not working on the St. Louis radar anymore. But this is where this has had a history of producing at least one, if not two tornadoes in the area. So that's why we have to take this seriously as we continue to focus on, I'm just happy that I'm able to hold on to this thing for as many hours as I have consistently. But, that could be a sign that I need to send it to Scott here at this point. But this is the spot that we're looking at here specifically. As we've seen the rotation, it's not as great as it has been, Scott. And I know Lance is in an area where there are trees involved, and so he's not able to see it quite as much anymore anyway, at least from this vantage point. But to me, just like what you mentioned earlier, from a meteorological standpoint and a storm structure standpoint, this seems like one that, yeah, it may cycle where it is not lower, it's lowered and creating a tornado, or two tornadoes, and then now it's back up, and now it maybe are starting to create some lowering of that wall cloud again, as we see in the distance here with what Lance is showing us.